Now that you know how to divide polynomials, we're going to use that division to look at something called the remainder and the factor theorem. Before I get into what this means with polynomials, let's think about this with numbers. When I say that 6 is a factor of 24, what I mean is that when I do 24 divided by 6, I have no remainder. So when something is a factor, that means there is no remainder. So if there is a remainder, it's not a factor. This is exactly the same idea for polynomials, but my actual kind of what you'll see in a math textbook sounds a little more complicated. So the remainder theorem says when you divide a polynomial by a linear factor, the remainder is p of a. So on those previous problems, if I divided blah, 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 blah by, let's say, x minus 2, then say I got a remainder, 7 over x minus 2, so my remainder was 7. That's actually the same thing as evaluating my function at 2. I would actually, if I plugged in 2 to everything, I would get out 7. So we can evaluate a function at a given x value by dividing and looking at the remainder. We're only going to focus in Algebra 2 on a specific situation, which is if I get a remainder of 0, then that means evaluating my function at that number gives me 0. We'll do a couple examples and then that will make sense. So factor theorem is what I was saying at the top with 6 and 24. If I divide and I get my remainder is 0, then it means we have a factor. So you'll notice if you just watched the dividing video, these are 2 of the problems straight from there. So I'm going to divide these pretty quickly because you just watched a video on it. So I have x minus 1. We put our first term in the first box. We say what times x is 3x cubed? That would be 3x squared minus 3x squared. I have negative 3x squared. I want a positive 1, so I need 4x squared. And then I repeat the process. What times x is 4x squared? That would be 4x. Multiply negative 4x. I have negative 4x. I want negative 4x, and there's nothing else in my problem, so I'm done. What does that mean my remainder is? My remainder is 0. If my remainder is 0, that means that this is a factor. X minus 1 is a factor. And then what the remainder theorem was saying is that think about setting that x minus 1 equals to 0. We're talking about when x equals 1. So when I plug in x equals 1, I get out 0. We'll look into more of this when we're solving. Let's look at this next one. Put that on the side. X minus 2, first term, first box. And we say what times x gives me x cubed? That would be x squared. Once again, if you need me to go through these problems slower, watch my dividing polynomials video that you should have just watched. I have negative 2x squared. I want negative 5x squared, so I need negative 3x squared. Repeat the process. What times x is negative 3x squared? Negative 3x. Negative 3x times negative 2 is 6x. I have 6x. I want 4x, so I need negative 2x. What times x is negative 2x? Negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 gives me 4. Last step, I have 4. I want negative 2, so I need to take away 6. My remainder is negative 6. So since I have a remainder, that means it's not a factor. What's not a factor? X minus 2. This also means if I plugged in x equals 2, I get out negative 6. Boop, boop. Once again, we go into that a lot more detail in pre-calculus. All we need to know for this class is that if I have a remainder of 0, it is a factor. If I don't have a remainder of 0, it's not a factor. That's what I need you to get from this video.